Exercise 6 will serve as a review, so there's no new information here. We are working on strings 1 and 2 in first position. And we are in 4/4 time signature. You will be dealing with the quarter note, eighth notes, a quarter rest, and a half note. The sharp and natural will also be included in this exercise. Okay, it's time to go over our 9 points, and the first one being the term first position. We're now playing notes on the first and second strings in first position. So I want you to perform a hold technique over that position. Now, since the first note that we are going to be playing is a G on the first string, I would like you to perform a hold technique on the first E string to get you started. So you're just hovering your fingers over those frets, one finger assigned for each fret, so that you can keep your eyes off your guitar and on the page. Don't forget to alternate pick. And so if you're a flat picker, make sure that you pick down and up strokes through the entire exercise. If you're a classical guitarist or a flamenco player, use your index and middle fingers with free and rest strokes for maximum efficiency. Point number 4 will establish rhythm. So you can put away your guitar. We are going to count the rhythms on the page with our voice as we tap counts 1, 2, 3, 4 with our pencil. We have quarter notes, we have eighth notes, a quarter rest, and a half note. We're in 4/4 time signature, so that tells us that each measure has 4 counts. And if we do the math, it adds up. For example, we have an eighth note plus an eighth note. That gives us a full count. This is an eighth note plus an eighth note. That gives us another full count. And then we have this half note, which gets 2 counts. So that's a count plus 2 counts gives us this top number in 4/4 time signature. I will count the exercise with you at 50 beats per minute. If you need to write in the counts above the note heads, feel free to do so. That's not cheating. So if you want to put count 1 here, the and of 1 here, count 2 here, the and of 2 here, and then count 3 over this half note, and then count 4 over the space between the half note and the end of the measure. When you get to the rest, you can either say the word rest or remain silent for that count. And when you get to this half note, you will say the count, and then you will tap your pencil to count 4, but you don't have to say anything. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Point number 5 is all about note identification on the musical staff. So all I want you to do is pick a note and say it. So you can just put your eyes on a note and identify it. One thing that's going to help you with the reading here is setting your parameters. And so what I like to do before I perform a piece, when I'm going over my note identification, I like to look at the highest note and then the lowest note. So it looks like our highest note is this G, which is the 3rd fret on the first E string. And our lowest note is going to be this B, which is the open B string. So when we look at our chart, our parameters will be between this G and this B on the guitar. And on the staff, it would be this G all the way down to this B. So we can eliminate the possibilities of using a G sharp and above or any of the strings underneath, which we haven't studied yet. But when we do study the other strings, you'll be glad that you set the parameters because it eliminates the waste in searching for unusable notes. It's also a good idea to scan the page for accidentals. And if we look at measure 5, we do. We have an F sharp here, and we have an F natural here. Now, you know from your rules of accidentals that rule number 1 tells us that any note that is sharped will remain sharped until the end of that measure. So this rule applies for this F sharp here. But we do have an F natural. So now that F sharp has been canceled, because of rule number 3, which says a natural cancels any preceding sharp or flatted note by making it normal. So the natural symbol just cancels the sharp on the end of 1. And then we get to the C sharp here. That C sharp remains till the end of the measure. And then once you're here, that sharp is ended. And that's rule number 1. When you get to the C here, it is no longer sharped because of the end of the measure. Point number 6, I want you to identify the notes on the page in rhythm without the guitar. And you will do that by saying the note names while tapping your pencil to counts 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you go slow enough so that you can articulate the notes clearly, especially on these eighth notes. When you get to the quarter rest, you can say the word rest or remain silent for that count. And then when you get to this half note, you can take a deep breath and sing the note for 2 counts, or you can say the note name on count 3, and then as you tap your pencil to count 4, remain silent, whichever works best for you. Now, one trick that we mentioned in the previous exercise is being aware of trends and patterns. And if you look at measure 1 into measure 2, we can see a trend. And that's this descending line of notes. So if you know your alphabet starting on G backwards, you can just simply say that backwards. G, F, E, D, C, B. It's already programmed in your mind, so you don't have to waste resources identifying each individual note. We also have ascending lines, like right here. So if you know your alphabet starting on C, you can just go up the alphabet. C, D, E, F. It's already programmed in your head, so you can spend more of your resources trying to find those notes on your guitar. Or you can use that opportunity to look ahead in your reading. I have the metronome set at 50 beats per minute. If this exercise is too fast, you can slow it down with your media player. I will give a 4 count, and we'll begin. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, G, F, E, D, C, B, C. C, D, E, C, D, E, F, D, E, F, G, F, E. G, F sharp, G, F, E, C sharp, D, E, F, E, D, C, B. C, D, E, C, D, E, F, D, E, D, C, B, C. Point number 7, we are going to say and play the notes at the same time with the guitar. And so in the beginning, note identification is more important. So you can just glance at a note, say the note name, and then play it on your guitar. As you get more comfortable, you can set the metronome to a very slow tempo and then practice saying the notes as you play them to a steady beat. Make sure you go slow enough so you can articulate the notes clearly. When you get to the rest, you can either say the word rest or remain silent for that count. And then when you get to this half note, just say the note name and then allow the note to ring for 2 counts. You're showing that you know what a half note does by allowing it to ring. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, G, F, E, D, C, B, C. C, D, E, C, D, E, F, D, E, F, G, F, E. G, F sharp, G, F, E, C sharp, D, E, F, E, D, C, B. C, D, E, C, D, E, F, D, E, D, C, B, C. Point number 8, count and play the notes at the same time. So our focus is on note identification in rhythm. So as you play this exercise, you will count 1, 2, 3, 4 with your voice. Don't forget about the and syllable on those eighth notes. When you get to this quarter rest, you will say count 4. You're showing that you know what a quarter rest does by stopping the note on that count. And then when you get to this half note here, you will say counts 3, 4 as you allow that note to ring for those 2 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Point number 9, training your eyes to look ahead of the note that you're playing. Expert sight readers can see several notes ahead of what they're doing, so make sure that you go slow enough so that you can identify those notes in advance. Now, we talked about trends and patterns, and we discussed these descending lines. Those help you in your sight reading, and then we have ascending lines here. And then another pattern that I recognize is this repeated motif. In measure 3, we also find it in measure 7. So those are repeats. So the first time you see it, you may struggle, but the second time you see it, it's a lot easier to read since you've rehearsed it. Not only do you have ascending lines, but it's been repeated, which allows you to focus more on measure 8 in advance.